everybody. We're going to be taking a look at Canvas Level 1, Part 1. So I am going to be working out of two screens. I'm going to be working here with the presentation, and I'm going to be flipping back and forth between this and Canvas. So before we get started, the whole goal of this is to familiarize you with Canvas. And when we're throwing around different Canvas terms, we want to make sure that you understand what we're talking about, how we're using it, specifically how we use Canvas in Frisco ISD. So if you're ready to get started, then I'm ready to get started. So let's work through Canvas Level 1, Part 1. So here comes the confetti, and let's get going. So the first thing that we're going to be taking a look at is customizing your course. We're going to talk about the different types of courses. There's been some confusion on what we're talking about. We're going to look at people. We're going to look at the calendar. And then finally, we're going to look at, in Canvas, organizing your Canvas course through modules. This is going to be super important this year as we are using our new tech network gradebook. We need to make sure that we are organizing through the module. So we're going to work our way through this, and I'm going to be flipping back and forth with Canvas. Make sure you either have this up in one screen and you have a second monitor to take a look at Canvas, or if you want to split your screen so that you can be working through this with me. So I'll give you a couple of seconds to get started with that, and then go ahead and unpause and come on back. All right, the first objective we have is customizing your course. So what we need to know is in account settings, it's going to be on your dashboard, but over here, you have your account, which is where your face is, and then there's also the dashboard, which is where all of your courses live. In account settings, you can change the notifications you receive from Canvas. You've probably already started seeing notifications come about students turning in assignments, and if you don't set them up properly, then you're going to receive a bunch of notifications that you may not want. So pause this and take a couple of seconds to go to Canvas and choose Account and change your notifications. New teachers, we did this at our beginning of the year new teacher training, so you may not need to pause. All right. So the next thing we're going to talk about is our dashboard. You've probably already been there to the dashboard. It's like the landing page of where you go when you open Canvas. This is where your courses live. All your published courses are at the top, and unpublished courses are at the bottom. So when we start a new semester, you will see that you have your S2 courses all the way at the bottom, and those are going to be the ones that you're going to end up publishing, and they'll move into that working space. So I'm going to move into my Canvas course real quick over here. I'm in a course. Let me go to my dashboard so that you can see some things a little bit better. So these are my published courses, as I just got done saying, but then you also have this over here in this part. You have like assignments that you've given that are coming up. You may have recent feedback if you're enrolled in a course. You can go and click on that to view your calendar. You can also change your dashboard view if you would like to change that. List view, you might see students with this kind of view if they're looking at your course and you're like, I've never seen this before, but this is list view. If you click on the three dots, you can also see recent activity view. So it's important to kind of know what you're looking for especially when a student may be asking for some help. So card view is the standard view of the dashboard. So sometimes courses are also hiding. If you go over here to courses, you will see published courses, unpublished courses, and all courses. If a student tells you that they cannot find your course and you know that they're in it, if they click on all courses, you will see that some are not, or you'll see these stars. And if they aren't favorited, then they will not show on the dashboard. So all they have to do is find your course, click the star, and it will add it to the courses menu, and they will be on your dashboard. So when we're looking at the card view, this is your default, like I've said. It will display up to 20 at a time. They're alphabetically sorted on here. Courses with instructor roles are first, followed by student roles at the very end. And again, your favorited courses are removed from the card view when the course is concluded. So when your course is no longer active, it will automatically be removed. So we're going to next talk about types of courses. There's some confusion about the types of courses and the names of the courses, and so we're going to kind of break that down with 3 different types of courses. First, we have the yearly course, then we have a blueprint, and finally we have a sandbox. Everybody has a yearly and everybody has a sandbox. Not everybody will have a blueprint. Yearly courses are courses that contain your students. These are your S1 courses, your S2 courses. They automatically are created based on your eSchool rosters. So whatever eSchool says, that's what Canvas reflects. If a student is added in eSchool, it will take at least 24, sometimes 48 hours for that student to show up in Canvas. So if somebody just moves in, don't be surprised if it takes a little bit of time for them to get in to your Canvas course. All content is what is delivered through the yearly course. It is not delivered through a sandbox. It is not delivered through a blueprint. It's only delivered through the yearly courses. And you assign your content to your students by sections within your yearly course as well. So your sandbox course, this is your personal playground, just like a sandbox. This is where you test out new things. You can do all sorts of things in the sandbox. It can also be kind of like a filing cabinet. You can sort it the way you want. You can file away stuff that you've pulled from Commons or other courses and you want to hold on to it. That's how it's like a sandbox. It's kind of the holding place. You can make a copy of something that's in your sandbox and move it into a yearly course or even into a blueprint course. Always import content from Commons to your sandbox first. A lot of times when you're looking at entire courses in the Commons, what you find is that they are filled with pages and assignments and quizzes, and there's hundreds of them, and you may not want all of it. So it's really important that you put it in your sandbox so that you can sift through it and delete what you don't want and only keep what you do. So we're going to take a second and I'm going to move over to the Canvas and I'm going to show you the difference between these 3. All right, so here I am in Canvas and I'm going to show you, I'm going to start with a sandbox, then I'm going to show you a blueprint, and then I think you guys already know what a yearly course is, but I'll go into a yearly course so you can see what that looks like. So this is a sandbox. You will notice that it's labeled sandbox. You all were given a sandbox that has your name on it. Or we made one during training because you didn't have one and we called it sandbox. You can always start a new course yourself and create a sandbox if you need to start over. So if I go into the sandbox, I can throw anything I want into this course. I can copy stuff in here. I can try all the things. I can try all the things in here and not have to worry about messing anything up. The hot tub is one of my sandboxes that I have, and there is stuff all in here that I've tried out. So all sorts of things are in this one. If you go down here to my actual sandbox with my name, I have a lot of stuff that I've thrown in here that I've moved over. And that's just what it's for. It's for building, it's for trying, it's for test, it's your testing ground. So back to my dashboard. This is a blueprint. This is slightly different and has different qualities than a yearly course or a sandbox. So you'll notice this blue tab up here, right here, that denotes that it's a blueprint. The only people who can make this a blueprint are blueprint admins. That's your DLCs on campus for the most part, unless other people have been given those rights. So one of the first things is that we have to actually make it a blueprint, which is how you get this little lovely box. After that, courses have to be associated with it. So if you've heard the term being thrown around, is your course syncing and is it associated? That's what that means. So I actually have courses that I've assigned to this blueprint. Any change I make to this blueprint will push out to my course. Sometimes that's good, and sometimes that's not so good. I have the ability in here, in settings, to lock my content so that, changes can't be made in my yearly course. The biggest thing with the blueprint is that if you're using one or your team is using one, you have to make changes in the blueprint. Changes made in the yearly that are part of the blueprint will break that sync that's happening, and then you'll have to go and fix it. So that's one of the tricky parts about using a blueprint. But once you have made all the changes, you just click the sync button and things are then pushed out to the courses that are associated with it. And you just build like you normally would in your course. You would just build in the blueprint. Another important reminder about blueprints is that we don't want to put dates in there. You put the dates in your yearly classes if your team is using a blueprint. And it is a collaborative space. So if your team uses that blueprint, make sure that you are collaboratively talking about what should be there, what shouldn't be there. It's not just a dumping ground for your course. Again, that's what the sandbox is for. So the blueprint is not a dumping ground, but a collaborative space to build the year's worth of content for the courses to share. If you want more information about the blueprint or need us to support your team with the blueprint, just let us know and we'd be happy to come and work with you guys. The next thing we're going to take a look at is a yearly course, and this is where your kids, your students, your learners, this is where they live. All right, back on my dashboard, my yearly courses say either 2021 yearly or 2021 semester or 2022 yearly. Hold on, I can give you the exact. It'll be one of these in that small print. So 2020, 1 Sem 1 or 2022 yearly is what it will say. And you can see it right here as well, right there. So this is where your students live. This is where you deliver your assignments, your quizzes, your discussions, all of the things that happen. This is where it happens, is in your yearly course. Remember, if you're syncing with the blueprint, this is where you'll add the dates. And remember, we want to always start in the New Tech Network gradebook, and we'll get to that later in another lesson as far as what that looks like. But this is where your gradebook is. This is where your students are. This is where you should have already set up your categories, and that's your yearly course. So when we're talking about some S1 courses or yearly courses, this is what we're talking about. All right, one of the next things to take a look at is people. So there are 4 really common types of people within Canvas. You'll have the teacher, the student, the observer, and often the role of non-editing teacher. There's a video here for you if you would like to watch it on your own, a little bit more of an overview about the people in Canvas. So real quickly, the teacher role, this person can make the changes, they can add the people, they can grade assignments, they can communicate with all the participants, they access student data. This is really important because we do not want students to have any type of teacher role. They can also monitor and moderate participation. So the teacher can pretty much do everything. The non-editing teacher can view student grades, view student data, grade assignments, communicate with participants, but they cannot change the content. So the biggest difference between the teacher and the non-editing teacher is that one can change the content, the other cannot change the content, but both have pretty much the same role and they can pretty much do the same thing. The student, they can view announcements, submit assignments, view the course calendar, view course users, so they can view one another in the course. They can view and post discussions, create and manage groups. This is a right that you can, or this is an ability you can turn on and off for them. They can view their course grades and they can send messages to the users in the course. Now the observer is a pretty much viewing ability that parents and guardians can have. We have documentation for any guardian or parent who would like to set up their observer role. So if you need that, just let us know. They can also send messages to the instructor. Basically, it views what the student views, but they do not have the ability to participate in the course. So that's the observer role. Fourth thing that we're going to talk about is the Canvas calendar. Sometimes this kind of gets overlooked and it can be a really useful tool, especially for, doing PBL units and stuff. This is going to be a really useful time management tool for groups and for individual students. So on the teacher view side, you can view and create activities, events, and reminders, filter for specific calendars. One of my most favorite pieces of the calendar from the teacher view is scheduling appointments with students using the scheduler. So if you're wanting to meet with a group of students, or if you're wanting to meet with an individual for some peer or for some individual feedback or conferences, this is a really neat tool to use. You can also copy the iCal feed for your course to your preferred calendar. So it's nice to keep it all together in one. Students, they can view their upcoming course events. They can create personal events. So that calendar that you see is personalized for the student. They can also view group calendars. So we're not going to go into groups in this session, but we'll go into groups in another session. When they do create a group, that group has its own calendar, and so that can be part of what they see. You can filter for specific calendars, so by course, and they can also copy their iCal feed into their own from their course into their preferred calendar. So I'm going to take a second and I'm going to go over to my Canvas course here, and I'm going to show you the calendar. So I'm just in a course, but it's over here in the blue navigation, the global navigation, and I find calendar. Okay, it's taking a while. Okay, here we are on the dashboard, and where we're going to go is to the global navigation to see the calendar, and we're going to take a closer look at the calendar in Canvas. Okay, so this view right here is the agenda view. This shows me for today what I have going on. This is an assignment, practice 8/31/21, and it's due at certain time. And upcoming assignments are listed here in the agenda view. If I go to the month view, you can see what assignments have already passed, and you can see there for certain courses, because over here I have not selected all my courses. So if I want to select all of the courses that there are assignments for, I would just, you may not want to do this because if you have a lot of classes. But select your calendars, and then what you'll do is then you can color code them. So this olive color will be for this particular course, or this is my personal calendar. This is for the template that I pushed out. It's a blue. We'll apply that. This is another course. The Emerson Part 2 course can be this pink color. You can see that's these down here. The Emerson Sandbox number 3 can be this purple color. And so things start changing color. So on the student end, they're going to have changes on their calendar if they use it. And so, like I said, this is a really great tool to use with students, especially with PBL. So the undated assignments are found here. This is why we want to put a date on, all the assignments, because then they're just going to all kind of lump into there, and there could be hundreds of thousands of assignments in there for students to have to sift through. This plus create a new event. This is my calendar. You'll see it's that green. So this is like Mandy Bush's calendar. Maybe I have a meeting today, this day, and it's not at 12 a.m., but home, and I'm putting it on my Mandy Bush calendar. But I also can put it on other ones. So if I want to put something on there for one of my other courses, I can do that. There's also more options if I want to put more information on that. So I'm going to go ahead and create that event. And I'm back in my calendar here. If I do go here and I can go to my to-dos. Again, right there is my to-dos. And then my appointment group. So maybe I want a group 1 meeting, and I'm in B100, B100A, and I'm going to put it on the Emerson Part 2 calendar. And it's going to be for tomorrow, and it's going to be at 8:30 to 9 o'clock. And we are going to divide in equal parts of 10 minutes. And now I have, it's already given me time slots. These are going to be the time slots. And my appointment groups, for my group 1 meeting are going to there's going to be signups in my classes for that. And I can limit to how many people. So maybe I want 3 appointments for each of those groups. Okay? And I'm going to say sign up here to meet. And we're going to say publish. So we've just added that to that course. You can see down here, the meeting is there, and the assignment groups are right here that I just did. So that's kind of how you use the calendar. It's really nice, like I said, for students to use. It'll be really great with PBL and for meeting with groups of students. All right, so the very last thing that we're going to talk about today is going to be organizing your course with modules. So there's lots of different ways to organize your course in Canvas, but with the NewTek Network Gradebook, the best way that we've discovered this year to organize is that it's going to be through the module approach. So it does save you so much more time. Modules allows the students to interact with more content than just go do this assignment, go do this quiz, go do this one thing. You really can build an entire, chunk of material for them to work with. You can also create a learning path. So if you've ever worked through a HyperDoc, you can create that through modules. We can look at something called Mastery Paths later, and you can, put prerequisites on various parts of the module. So before we get started on some things to remember, let's go take a look at building modules and how to do that in Canvas. And we will go back to the dashboard. And we will go into one of our sandboxes. So one of the things that you're going to do in here is you're going to go to your settings and you're going to turn everything off, because if students don't need it, if students don't need something, you're not going to give them access. So you're going to go to your navigation and we're going to turn off. This is not for the teacher, this is for the student. You're going to turn off assignments, keep discussions. You're going to turn off grades because they're going to use the NewTek Network Gradebook. You can turn off people, turn off pages, turn off files. Unless you're using the syllabus, you can disable it, turn off outcomes, turn off rubrics, quizzes, keep modules. You can disable that. Collaborations for now, Google Drive for now, item banks, all of these things, you can just go ahead. You're not going to be able to use Lockdown Browser right now. And we're just going to turn some of this stuff off because I want to clean it up for the student view. If you're going to use Nearpod, you can keep it. We're going to turn off that and we're going to move this to the very top. So just take a few minutes, clean up your navigation. Don't forget to go all the way to the bottom and click Save. Now that everything is cleaned up, we're going to go back home. And you'll see I left modules on, but it's showing that it's not visible to students. It's not visible because there's nothing there. So we're going to go to modules. And here I can now build. So I'm going to say create a new module. I'm going to call this Unit 1. You can call it anything you want. I'm just calling it Unit 1. The module is not published until you click the publish button. So it's still it's still invisible to students because you haven't published it. To add things to the module, you'll click the plus button. Now, I've already created an assignment using the NewTek Network Gradebook, which is this one. So it's going to be here in assignments. However, I can add a page, which gives me an area to build. I can add a text header, an external URL. Those types of things are going to be something that I can add to this to kind of develop the content and the learning path for my students. So right now, all I'm going to do is just add an assignment. And there it is. You'll see that it's published, but again, my students can't see it because the module isn't published. If you're unsure if the students can see it or not, use the student view and it'll show you that they can't see it. It says that I have a to-do, but I don't know how to get there unless I click that. And I don't know how to get there because my teacher hasn't published it yet in the modules. So I have to go to modules, have to publish the module, and then I'm going to be able to see it. And there it is. It's due tomorrow, and it's worth 100 points. I can click on the assignment. There it is. There's nothing. I just, as a student, would click Start Assignment. Okay. So to create the other things within the modules, we're going to get into things like pages and assignments and quizzes, and we're going to look at that in the part 2 of these Canvas for Beginner webinars. So we're going to get into that later. Once the assignment is in here, you can always copy it somewhere else or you can move it around. So don't worry about it's not in the right spot. If you had another module, you could just move it there. So if I wanted another module, maybe I wanted actually a unit 2, I can just, why is this not letting me? There we go. I can just drag it into unit 2 and publish unit 2, unpublish unit 1. Okay. So back over here to the presentation, a few things to keep in mind with Canvas. Number 1, if it isn't published, students don't see it. That includes your course, that includes quizzes, assignments, modules, everything. If it's not published, they don't see it. If it doesn't have a due date, students can't see it in the gradebook, and you know very well that it should have a due date in order to use the New Tech Network gradebook. So that's like job number 1. Number 3, observers have a special way of getting access to Canvas. If parents need access to Canvas, please reach out to us and we will give you information to give to them to connect that with them to make an account. And then finally, one of the most important things to remember with Canvas is that you don't have to do it all at once and go slow. We want you to have the basics and to understand the basics of what terminology we're using and how to do the most basic things, because once you're able to do all of that, then you can fancy it up and do all the other stuff. So we just want you to remember these 4 things, and the biggest one is that you don't have to do it all at once and just go slow with it. And that's it. So if you guys have any questions, please let us know. If you need more support with this basics of Canvas, you know where we are and how to find us. You can reach out through email. You can stop on by, and we would love to support you. So stay tuned for part 2. This is part 1. We'll go into paid assignments, quizzes, announcements, all of the other stuff, the content. We'll go into that in part 2. So stay tuned.